In order to actually increase your new student value, you have to first know your new student value. That's like number one. Out of I can tell you lots of things you can do, but if you don't actually know where your current student value is, how are you going to increase it? It's just going to be a guessing game. Upgrade program. This is how to increase your student value. Upgrade programs. You have your foundation program that they start off in, but you need to have something else that they can move into, and that would be your upgrade or your advanced training program. We call it an advanced training program because it's not just upgrading their experience. Some of you are going to have an upgrade to the experience. Back in the day, that upgrade to the experience might be, if I'm in Black Belt Club, I get a 15% discount off of retail. Woohoo! So I'm going to pay extra to get a discount. Today, what we're going to be diving into in our Black Belt Business Academy call right now is all about the 7 ways you can increase your student value, okay, and your profit. And I'm going to walk through these different 7 ways. I think one of them may surprise you a little bit, but I think if we think about, well, a few of them may surprise you, honestly. But if we think about the overall value of a student, sometimes we think in terms of how much they pay each month. Sometimes we think in terms of, well, what's my, like, you can use software, like if you're using Spark or something like that, it'll give you what's your average student value. Think about that. What I want to challenge you guys to think about is, how long does a student actually stay with you on average? So if you don't really know that number, that would be the first thing. So I want you to first take a guess. I think they stay around this range. And I think this is different for everybody, as well as like how good you're tracking it. Also, like your expirations, your cancellations, all that. So right now, just in your mind's eye, be thinking about what group of students seems like at this belt rank or at this particular spot in their progress, how many students are there in that group. For example, if you have a lot of people that are in that beginner group, that's great, but you do not have a lot of people who continue to the advanced group. That would indicate to you that you're losing students somewhere between beginners and advanced. There's always going to be that attrition that goes along the lines, but I think what was really telling for us years ago was we would have beginners, and then like our belt ranking system, there's 4 belts to the green belt level from white belt to green. And so we would have a lot of beginners, and then all of a sudden at green belt, we would suddenly shrink. And then we would shrink again. So we'd have a lot of beginners, a few green belts, and then hardly any advanced students. And only a handful of people testing for their black belt over a 3 to 4 year period. And so that kind of told us that people were dropping off and our student value wasn't very long. So hi, Miss Julia, good to see you. Welcome to the call. It looks like we got Mr. Roberto back here as well. Great to have you. So if you don't know that number for sure of where students are dropping off, then I would say as an average, if you have no back-end program, no ascension program, you're probably keeping students on average between 6 and 12 months. I would imagine that that's probably somewhere where you're at, between 6 and 12 months. If you have an ascension program, you have something that they can step up into, you might get closer to 24 to 36 months keeping them. All right. So now I want you to take how much the students pay monthly or weekly or whatever it is for their program. And what I want you to do is I want you to write that number down. Let's do the first one. Let's assume that you do not have a back-end program. So let's just say the first 6 to 12 months, how much money would they pay you in the first 6 to 12 months? So you want to get that number down, write that number down. And then the next thing that you want to do is you also want to calculate in your quit rate. Okay, so you're not going to collect all that cash. For example, if you had, let's say you had, and you were going to collect $1,000 because they were going to pay you $1,000 over 4 months. Not everybody may stay for the 4 months or the 6 months. You probably aren't going to collect all that. So you apply your quit rate, which if you have a 5% quit rate, you'll take $1,000, you'll multiply it by 5%. And that's the money that you're not going to actually receive. Does that make sense? So you're gonna be missing like $50. So it won't be 1,000, it'll be 950 instead of 1,000 because your quit rate was 5%. Thumbs up if you're sticking with the math. Some of you, okay, cool. Didn't lose you all. So I promise you, I'm not like a math nerd, but I love business math. So this is how I had to make sense of it in my head. So now that we have that value, that is what is an indicator of how much we can spend to acquire that customer, which we talked about like 2 weeks ago, the cost of acquisition. So if you missed that, go to the guide section and we talk about the cost of acquiring a student, how to figure that out. There's a spreadsheet, all that kind of stuff that's in that video. I'm not going to go back through that. But if I know that it's going to cost me or I can collect $950 out of that student for that particular lifetime value, I'm more likely to spend to get to that student. Now, you also have to take into consideration, like, what's your cost for servicing that student? An easy way to figure out your cost for servicing that student is to take all of your expenses, divide it by the number of students that you currently have. And that is your cost to service the students that you have. All right, so all your expenses, including labor, including your rent, your utilities, all that kind of stuff, and divide it by the number of students you have. And that per student costs this much to service the students. I learned this primarily because of my dad in construction. So in construction, you have to account for all your materials and your labor whenever you price out a job. Any of you guys have ever been in construction or you've ever been part of estimates or things like that, that's how you do it. And so we're just applying that same logic to martial arts, but sometimes we don't think about it that way. So how much did it actually cost you? All right, so now you got kind of those numbers. Again, now you can determine how much are you willing to spend to get that student in the door. I'll tell you, for us, we're pretty much between $300 to $400 that we can spend to acquire a student, not because we just have a front end program, but because we have a back, like when we calculate the back end program, we could spend way more. We could spend up to $1,000 to acquire a student, which is insane. We could spend up to $1,000 to acquire a student because the majority of our students move into our Ascension program, where they end up paying us $5,000 to $7,000 over the years as they move forward. So in order to actually increase your new student value, you have to first know your new student value. That's like number one. Out of I can tell you lots of things you can do, but if you don't actually know where your current student value is, how are you going to increase it? It's just going to be a guessing game. So that would be step number one. Step number two, ask yourself this question: how frictionless, like we don't have friction, is it for someone to stick with you? How frictionless is it for someone to stick with you for 4, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is? And here's what I mean by this. A lot of us have grown up in martial arts and we front end load everything about martial arts. In other words, think about when you were starting martial arts, like how much curriculum did you have to know to get to the first belt versus your black belt? I don't know, like I grew up and this is how we had it back in the day. Like we had a lot of stuff that I had to learn as a little kid. And then like the advanced belts leading up to black belts, you were told that you needed to polish and get better at the basics. Did anybody else have that experience, like advanced belts to black belts? Okay, good. I'm not alone. Thank you for validating me. So that's how we used to do that. And it used to be like, okay, you have to polish, and you didn't really learn anything new. Maybe you learned a spin kick or technique, or maybe an extra move on the self-defense technique, but there really wasn't a whole lot new. You learned everything new at the front and you learned very little at the back. So I want you to think right now, if we're trying to cram information down somebody's throat for the first 6 months, the likelihood that they're going to stay for the next 6 months is very, very slim to none. So as you move people into your beginners or your foundations, whatever you call your program, how easy is it for them to grasp the concepts? Does that mean that you need to look at loading more of the curriculum on the back end so that they're preparing for their black belt, their advanced belt, whatever the belt is that they're preparing for, whatever that thing is that you're preparing for. And it doesn't have to be about belts. Like, there's lots of different people that are watching this or that are part of this that you do not have a physical, like, I'm in the belt room again, guys. So you don't have like a physical belt. Like, you don't need a physical belt. Like, I'm talking about progress markers and checkpoints. So if you're cramming everything into the first progress marker or checkpoint, you're going to lose student value because they're never going to stay with you. If we're talking about linear, traditional, like, you have to know these fundamentals and this thing before you move to this next progress marker, I want you to literally go and I want you to compare. I'll use belt ranks right now, but I want you to compare what's at this belt rank versus what's at this belt rank. Now, some of you are like, you're bound to your organization and what they require at certain ranks. I'm not saying that you should be against your organization or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you need to look at, okay, is there a way to push this along where maybe I don't front end everything on the first 2 or 3 progress markers or belt ranks? So I'm just curious right now, just being open, being honest, like, do you currently feel like maybe, just maybe, you have a little too much on the front end and not enough on the back end? Anybody kind of feeling like that right now? Okay, got a couple of hands up. All right, cool. Good. So the first thing is like recognizing it. Maybe I need to push this out a little bit more. If you do that, you're going to get people to stay longer because they have something to look forward to. Now, how many of you have a set curriculum after, or something that students do after they achieve their, I'm going to say black belt, but it could be advanced belt, whatever, because some people do jujitsu, so black belt's like 10 years for them. But let's say whatever the rank is after 3 or 4 years, do you have something else that people do after that? Or is it kind of loose? Raise your hand if you have something set. You do? A few? Okay. When you get to the point where you're keeping people a long time and you want them to stay past black belt, you need to have something that they're looking forward to. You've got to have something that they're looking forward to. If you don't have that, they're going to quit at that advanced belt, black belt, advanced progress marker, wherever it is. You got to have something beyond that. Now, sometimes that can just be, like, for us, we do rotating curriculum, but we do a hybrid. So I wouldn't say it's really rotating curriculum. It's hybrid rotating curriculum. So we break our chunks up into 2-year segments. So we have like a 2 years and a 4 years and a 6 years, right? And so they're rotating out every 2 years in those sections. For someone to stay 6 years is a really, really long time. Just to say that, like, if you get somebody to stay for 6 years, congratulations, that's amazing. But because it rotates out every 2 years, it doesn't matter what cycle, when they start the cycle, they always exit it after the next 2-year period. Getting to a black belt takes about 4.5 years for us now. So they'll exit, but they'll still have more to learn in that, if that makes sense. So think about that. That would be step number 2 is, do I have stuff after advanced belt or black belt? I usually get a lot of questions around curriculum or things like that. So I will pause here for a moment. If anybody has a question, just raise your hand and I will come to you. Miss Paula. I can always count on you for my coffee break, ma'am. Good job.
I was just wondering, do your kids progress at the same rate as your adults? So, 2 white belt, 1 kid, 1 adult start same time. Do they reach black belt in 4.5 years? Both.
Good question. So we have 3 different types of black belts. So we have what's called a Kohai black belt, which some people might call a junior black belt, kids black belt, whatever. We have a Tashi black belt. Some people might call this a teen black belt. And then we have a senior black belt, which is our adult black belt. All right, so a Kohai, a kid's black belt, is not equal to an adult black belt. Different curriculum, different requirements. A Tashi, a teen black belt, is different than a kid's black belt. Different curriculum, different requirements, and same thing for the adults, right? So 3 different black belts that they earn. So yes, will they be progressing through the belt ranks the same? Yes, but their certificates all say something different. Kohai, Tashi, senior. And so if I'm a Tashi black belt and I come into the class and there's a senior black belt, I'm not in the same spot as him, because I might be a second degree Tashi and he's a first degree senior. He's a higher rank because he learned different curriculum and at the adult level. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
I will
Anybody
not.
else? Anybody else have questions around this? Oh yeah, Miss Ricky, let's go. Then I'm
I
coming
was
to Miss
just-
Julia.
I was just gonna say our curriculum is all the same, whether it's adult or child. So we don't have those levels of black belt. So our child or teen will advance at a different rate than our adult will. So just
Yeah.
little
No, you
different.
can- yeah, no, you can definitely do that. I will say, like, I would keep the cadence of progress. In other words, for example, I'll use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in this example. So if it's a white belt moving to a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, that's going to take, depending upon their training time, but let's just say it's standardized 24 months, 18 to 24 months. But I still would have some progress checks in between, like every 2 to 3 months. So you may have a kid who's stuck at white belt a lot longer than to get to yellow belt, but I would still have progress markers in between. Yeah, cool. Ms. Julia.
Hi, what are some milestones that you give to your black belts to keep them motivated once they earn their black belt?
So whatever cadence that you have people testing on or performing their skills at. So I'll just say this across, like, doesn't matter what you do, you have to have some way to check people's progress. And whatever cadence that you set, you should always keep the same cadence forever and ever, because you created that initially. So if you were testing and checking progress every 8 weeks, then you have to do the same when they reach black belt. If you're doing it every 12 weeks, like we do it every 12 weeks, we have a testing cycle, they test. So once they reach a black belt, we test them every 3 months. That black belt level is not, I'm getting a next degree of black belt, I'm just getting a level towards that next degree. So in our system, from first degree to second degree is 2 years. So they test every 3 months for another level on their black belt, and they continue progressing forward. But because we're doing the hybrid rotating curriculum, everybody in the class is doing the same moves, whatever their rank are, because they're rotating out over a 2-year period of time on that curriculum. So like you could enter at this point and I could enter at this point, but we're rotating through it. We'll both finish in 2 years, but you're going to exit it before I am, basically. Yeah, cool. All right. Stirring your brains. Okay, so we'll hop off the curriculum train, and now we're going to move into some other things that are going to help increase your student value. So the next thing is that will greatly increase your student value are touch points. Touch points. These are things that you are going to install that happen automatically, not because you think about it, but because it's a built-in part of what you do. Touch points would mean, I'll give you a lot of different ones that we can just walk through together, but what's happening on their first 4 sessions, their first 4 classes with you? All right. You got to be greeting them. You need to be talking to them about doing a Google review of how your school is. You need to get to know them a little bit better, talk to them about the policies that you have, like your attendance policy, give them a gift. All of these things establish trust. And so if you can do that, they will stay with you longer. It definitely impacts your student value, right? So you got to have those touch points. Another type of touch point that you would have is establishing some sort of system leading up to their first belt rank or their first progress check, whatever that progress check might be for you, where you are getting them involved in your school. So you're having them come to a new student success workshop, or white belt success workshop, whatever you call it. You're having them come in and actually learn more about you and how to be a successful student. And then on top of that, you can do either or both. We actually do both, but you can phone them up and you can reiterate what you've already told them before. Like, this is how much attendance you need. This is what your next step is. This is what testing is, or, whatever the things are that you're doing, right? You're going to go through those things over the phone on a set cadence, like 2 weeks in, 4 weeks in, 6 weeks in, 8 weeks in, whatever. If your testing cycle is 12 weeks, maybe you do it every 2 weeks leading up to that. But you got to have some sort of cycle that you're hitting these touch points so they are not confused. And remember, everything is new. Has anybody ever learned a second language before? Like you didn't know the language as a kid and then you grew up and learned a second language? Okay, a few of you. So like I learned Spanish. So I'm conversational in Spanish. Like I can't get like super technical in Spanish, but I can understand Spanish and I can speak Spanish. But I can tell you that like the first few months of me trying to learn Spanish, my brain was doing somersaults. Like it just, I was trying to connect words with symbols in my head and create relationships between one thing to another thing. And you have to understand that starting martial arts, basketball, music, whatever it is that you're doing, is going to be like learning a new language for the student and for the family. So think about it that way. We don't think about it that way because we're fluent in our business. They're not. The other touch point is, are you writing like a personal note to them at any point during their student journey? We do this every cycle. So every testing cycle, every student gets a personal note from my team. And that personal note can be something as simple as like, you did fantastic in your last class. Can't wait to see you crush it on your test coming up. But some type of touch point where you're actually sending out a piece of mail, especially if you have kids, like kids don't get mail ever. And so when they do get mail, they're like, oh my gosh, I got something in the mailbox. And so they're super excited about it. But you got to have some sort of touch point like that. You could also do a touch point with the parent if you want to do that. We've done it in the past. Right now, I'll just tell you, we just don't have the manpower to do that on top with all the students. But yeah, those are some touch points. Anybody have questions on touch points or anything like that before we move on? Sweet. Okay. So the next part I talked about earlier, you need to have established progress checks, or if you're doing martial arts that involves testing points. Okay, progress checks or testing points, whatever those are, graduations, they all have different names, need to be established on your calendar and should not, I'm going to start stepping on toes, I know, should not be when the student is quote unquote ready. Wah, wah, wah. All right, so here's what I mean by this. In the old school way, you would look out on your mat. Oh, that person looks ready to test. That person looks ready to test. That person looks ready to test. They're ready to test. Let's go. I've also heard it. We didn't do this, but I've heard it where you invite someone to testing and they get to choose whether or not they're going to take the test or not take the test. I would not suggest doing either of those. You should establish tests and you should establish eligibility requirements for attending that test. And everybody who meets the eligibility requirements should go to that test. Now, is it still a test? Yes, it should still be a test. And the vast majority of people taking the test should be able to pass it. You're not going to put somebody on a test that you think is going to fail. Maybe there's a possibility of failure, but I wouldn't put somebody who is not ready. You know, I'm not putting my 9-year-old on the road in a driving test, even though he's almost as tall as me. Like I'm not going to put him in the driver's seat. Like he's not ready. He can drive his go-kart, can't drive a car yet. So it's the same thing. Like you're not going to put somebody on that test. But what I would recommend is having a minimum number of hours or a minimum number of attendance that they have to have. You can use them interchangeably, like hours, attendance, whatever. We say attendance. So like how many sessions do they need to come to, right, in order to be eligible? And you need to establish that. I had somebody, maybe it was one of you guys, I don't know. Somebody asked me the other day, well, what happens if you have a student? Oh no, it was one of my other client calls. What happens if you have a student that's been attending classes 5 days a week, but you have another student who's been attending classes 1 day a week? That person who's been attending 5 days a week is going to be much better than the person who's attending 1 day a week. So what happens at testing? Do they test for different belt ranks? Well, first, I would never have that scenario in my school. And I'll tell you why, because we roster all of our students in classes. So when they sign up for a specific day and a specific time so that my staff can service the students on the mat because we know how many students are going to show up. So we don't have unlimited classes, it's scheduled classes. So you sign up, and Mr. Brandon, he chooses Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 o'clock. Mr. Andrew chooses Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 o'clock. That's their schedule. They don't get to come whenever they want to. They come on that schedule. Now, here's the difference. Let's say Mr. Brandon's sick on Monday. He can't attend his class at 5 o'clock. We have a makeup class on Friday. He can come to the makeup class on Friday at that specific time, which is the makeup class is every Friday at 6. So he's going to come to the makeup class, but he has to schedule it. He can't just randomly show up. It's not an issue if you, like right now, if you have unlimited classes right now, it's not an issue for you until you get to between 150 to 200 students, then it becomes an issue. And then at 200 students, it becomes a break point. And anything beyond that, it becomes you or your team being really inefficient. So here's what happened to us. We would have a large class, but we wouldn't know when it was going to be large. We're like, okay, is it raining today? Probably won't be a large class. Is it, storm? Like it's not going to be a large class. But we would have staff that were literally there waiting to teach a class of 30, 40, 50 kids, and we'd have a class of 5. Right? And so what am I doing? Am I sending them home? I can't send my staff home because we have another class. What if that class is big? So we started controlling the variables, which were how many students are rostered for the class. Now I can staff it appropriately, right? So you need to know how many people are scheduled for each class so you can do that. And going back to the eligibility requirements, that means I don't have people training 5 and 6 days a week. When I had a competition team, those were the only guys that did that. But out of everybody that was training, like I had 10 people, maybe 15 at the height that were into competition and going to kickboxing and jiu-jitsu matches. Not everybody is going to go compete. And doing it different if we decide, which at this point, I don't have anybody that's really focused on competition. Like I don't have an instructor that's focused on it. I'm certainly not focused on competition right now. But if I did have an instructor who was like, yes, I want to go and I want to do this and I want to compete, like I want to go do that. Okay, cool. We're going to do a competition pod, which I've recommended several times to, I think Miss Lakin's done it, Mr. Massey's done it. And a competition pod is just you register people to prepare for the competition. You have a set window of time that you're preparing for the competition. You charge them for it and you just do it for that competition. You're done. So you don't have to have all this extra like, oh, we have to have ongoing competition classes or things like that. You can just create a pod of a group of people that are going to come in for a specific time and train for it. And that helps a lot. So have your set points, like your progress, and have it on a set schedule. We do ours every 3 months. We don't test every month. We do it every 3 months. On the court, we actually do an offset quarter. So for example, our testing and our graduations in January, February, March, we have another one in April. We just had it. May, June, July will be our next one. And then August, September, October will be the one after that. Some people do it directly on the quarter. We don't do it on the quarter particularly because of December. A lot of people like to quit at the end of the year. But if you have your quarter shifted by 1 month, then they will come back after the holidays because they're only 1 month away from their test. So keep that in mind. That was a big shift for us as well. How do you determine their progress, or how you determine their progress is up to you. Some of you are going to use belts as a way to do that. First of all, anything that you can do that's visual is way better than just saying good job. Like that is not going to be helpful. So if you got some type of visual marker like belts, use that. If you don't have belts, use shirts, use insignia, patches, like different things that you can say, okay, this is the level that you go to. Mr. Henry in particular, for you guys, like that's one of the things that I would say, like you guys, I gotta have some like differentiation so they don't all look the same out on the court. You know what I mean? So some way to test their skills. It's not just about whether they're winning competitions, whether their skill set is improving, right? So questions about this, or we'll move on, guys. I think everybody's kind of got the idea on this one. Sweet. Okay, so next one. I talked about this a little bit earlier as well. Upgrade programs. This is how to increase your student value. Upgrade programs. You have your foundation program that they start off in, but you need to have something else that they can move into. and that would be your upgrade or your advanced training program. We call it an advanced training program because it's not just upgrading their experience. Some of you are going to have an upgrade to the experience. Back in the day, that upgrade to the experience might be, if I'm in Black Belt Club, I get a 15% discount off of retail. Woohoo! So I'm going to pay extra to get a discount. Like that's like a really old school method and it just didn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Or maybe I get to come to one extra event a month because I'm part of the club. It's not as valuable as saying you're going to enter an advanced training program that is going to advance your skills. You're going to become a more advanced student by being in this. If you guys have a school system that has an accelerated program or something where they go into that initial grade, but then they can do an extra level on top of that because they're an accelerated learning, like that's what I'm talking about. Advanced training program is accelerated learning or is training towards a bigger goal. For us, it would be training towards our black belt. That would be our first program. And then the program after that would be training towards their second degree black belt. So install it, get it going. Don't just have something that's just on the surface. We dig a lot into building out an advanced training program in boardroom, like how to set that all up, everything like that. So those of you who have questions around your advanced training program or revamping it that are in boardroom, we can definitely dive into that. But you want to have something like that that's a long-term goal. You know, whatever it is you're doing, they need a long-term goal. There's a Bible verse that says, without vision, the people perish, right? And so it's the same thing inside of your school. If they don't know where they're going, they will quit, aka die from your program. Like they're not going to be there anymore. So the other thing is, if you have an advanced training program, is it your best kept secret? Like I was on a call with another client the other day and we were talking about their advanced training program. And they said that literally when they were getting on calls with people were like, well, what's this program about? No one in the school knew that it existed. And you're like, well, how do you not know that it exists? Like, we do it. Do you see the kids? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. So what are some ways that you can make sure your program is visible? Number one, talk about it on your first introductory lesson before they even sign up. You have to have them hear the word, right? So like if I'm in the intro room, I'm talking about our programs and I say, look, most of our students are in black belt training. You're going to notice they're in red uniforms. That's not what I would recommend for you. I'd recommend our foundations program. I think we end up there in black belt training, but we don't start there. That's it. That's all I got to say. Now they know there's another program. Later, when they're at their white belt success workshop, their new student success workshop, I'm talking about black belt training. How do you get into it? How do you get nominated? What are the criteria for it? They're seeing it. And then for us, our black belt training section is at the end of our foundations class. So we're going to tell them, hey, we've got black belt training coming up. If you're in black belt training, get your gear on. We're about to do sparring. All the other kids are dismissed. Right? So everybody's seeing it. They're getting a chance to know, okay, there is something else afterwards. So have an established advanced training program. And if you can measure right now on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being, I know for a fact everybody in my school knows about my advanced training program, and 1 being nobody knows I have it because I don't have it yet. I want to know what yours is. So drop it in the chat for me. Like, what scale are you on? Like, do you think it's a 10? Do you think it's like a 1 because you haven't started it yet? But put it in the chat. I'm just very curious to see where everybody's at. Like, maybe you have 1, maybe you don't. We got some 9s, got some 10s. Yeah, a 1, got to create it. Okay, that's great. A 1, got to create it. Cool. Keep going, guys. Keep going. I'm telling you, like, if you don't take anything else away from this, I would definitely put some thought into how to create an advanced train, like the steps for creating an advanced training program. Like I definitely would start looking at it to increase the value of the students. But if you're still like, you're in the stage where you're struggling with new students, keep your eye on that ball. Like keep going after the new students right now. And the things that you learn, not everything you're going to implement right away. Think about like, I have a big giant plate of food. I went to the buffet. I can't eat every single thing at one time. I have to go once to the next, whatever, right? I can't just like throw the plate on my face and inhale. And so I want you guys to think about that when you're here as well. elite competition program, 25 people strong, 25%. That's good. However, we're selected. That's good. Do you have a training on how to create this program, how to market it? Most of that's in our boardroom as far as creating the, like how to go about doing that aspect. One of the things I'll tell you though, that you need to start thinking about right now is what are the things that I need to stop doing as much of that only is in my advanced training program? That's going to take a lot of thought. In other words, give you a great example. Back in the day, we didn't have an advanced training program. Everybody sparred. Now, I'm not saying you need to stop sparring. That's not. I'm giving my example. Okay, so don't infer anything. But everybody sparred, and we decided that it was a pain in the butt to get everybody to buy their gear. It was a pain in the butt to explain that they had to buy it before a certain belt rank. We always got pushed back. Then that pushed people away from the rank. We said, you know what? We're just going to take sparring out of our foundations program. We're going to put it into the black belt training program because they have to spar at their black belt test. So it makes sense that they have to learn sparring. And if they're in foundations, they're going to be with us for 4 months anyway. They're going to make a decision one way or the other. Them not sparring for 2 months when they're going to get the next 4 years to learn sparring, that's going to be okay. So that's what we did. We started pulling it out, and anybody who was a new student, we just didn't have them worry about buying sparring gear. So like you need to think about what are the things that you're currently doing that you feel would go up to an advanced training level first. And that's not going to be an overnight like process. That's going to take you some time to think about. And honestly, it's going to take a shift in your school. But I would definitely start thinking about that. And then we can, work on that as you continue to grow and building it bigger as well. So, all right, cool. So let's move on here. All right. So the next one here, this should be number 6, selling retail. Selling retail will increase your student value and your profit. If you do not sell retail right now, other than their initial like jersey, t-shirt, shorts, gi, whatever it is that you have for them, you got to get more. Now, the problem is paying for retail, right? Like having an actual shop, that's a problem. Unless you have some version of an online store, then it's not a problem because you don't actually have to have it in stock. You can just have them order it online and then send off for the order and it gets there to your school. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get around this. If you have no retail right now, the easiest place to start is with limited edition shirts. Limited edition shirts. Actually, I'm going to turn off my my fancy background and I'm going to take you guys a little bit of a tour. All right. So no. All right. So all of these shirts right here are limited edition like shirts. Okay. So oops, let me go that way. I'm trying to tilt this so you guys can see. So like each of these shirts right now, it's Mother's Day coming up. So like all of these are like the mom shirts. And when we first, started doing them, we didn't have this many different types of designs. We started creating these different designs and we laid them out over the years. And well, not over the years, but over the last, let's say last year, we had some other shirts and we changed them out on our haul. So people are always seeing these different types of shirts, right? Looks like we got a hoodie down here. We've got other things over here. They're on the walls as well. Again, notice that like it's Mother's Day. So we're pretty much focused on Mother's Day as far as that goes. So start with a t-shirt, like something that you can have that's a shirt that you can start like promoting or selling and create an event around it. Like you're going to want to create an event around it so that you can sell that shirt. You don't have to have lots of designs like we did. Pick one, create an event, sell the shirt around that event. You could have it at testing. You're going to have a special shirt around testing and create it for that. Pre-sell it. Don't buy a bunch of t-shirts and hope and pray. Get your design made, create a flyer, announce it to everybody, tell everybody that the pre-orders have to be done by a certain day, certain time. And now you got enough. Well, what if we don't get enough pre-orders? What if we only get like 8 pre-orders? Refund them their money. You don't have to be stuck with a big order. That's my point. If you're low on cash flow, don't make big cash flow moves. right? Like the whole goal is to make profit, not to lose money just because you ordered a shirt. I'm telling you guys this because this is like stuff that we used to make mistakes on. We were like, well, they ordered a shirt. We gotta spend the money, like, you know, to get a 24 t-shirt order. And then we had all these extra shirts. And then the point was is people didn't like the design. The vast majority of people didn't like the design, right? We bust ours so we can get that's funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. So anyway, like come up with some different some different designs, you know, some different things that you guys can sell retail. Sell, like if you have accessories are really, really big as well. So like if you have some type of knickknacks, keychains, hats, you know, any kind of accessory, right? Those types of things that are little, they'll help sell. If you're not having a sale each month, that would be the first place that I would start. Like look at the months of the year. It's already May, you're probably going to miss Mother's Day, but there is Memorial Day here in the States. So at the end of the month, you could have a Memorial Day sale. And then you've got June. So here in the States, I think Canada also does the same as well. I don't know, Ms. Turner, you have to tell me, is Father's Day the same? Is it in June the same for you guys? Different day. I'm putting them on the spot.
I'm not sure. I never keep track. I should.
Yeah. So Father's Day is like in mid-June. So you could have Father's Day sale. You could also prepare for a beginning of summer sale, like, you know, all those types of things. July is coming. So again, like you can come up with lots of different sales every month. We usually have 1 to 2 sales a month. People buy when there's a sale. So if you want to sell retail, you need to have sales and you need to pre-plan those. Okay, last thing here before we wrap up today. Number seven way is sell events. You have to sell events, right? Meaning like, don't just teach classes, have other things that people that want to participate in what you do can get access to. That could be a parents' night out. That could be a seminar. That could be a short-term event, like a one-day event, or that could be like an event that happens over 3 to 4 weeks. So you're going to have some type of event that you're selling on a regular basis. Very, very important that you do that. The retail and the events takes planning. So I got to think ahead. I can't just like all of a sudden do it. I need to think ahead. And for all of your events, you need a 2-week announcement cycle. So I start announcing it the week before the event and I keep announcing it the week of. If you guys have ever seen our behind the scenes where we announce events, which I'll have to post another video in the group, we go all out when we announce like parents' night out events. So if we're doing like Nerf war, our instructors have Nerf guns on the mats, like showing that off. If we're doing like a Jedi lightsaber themed parents' night out, like we have instructors, like my husband being one of them is a big Star Wars fan. So of course he has the cape and the hood thing, like the Jedi, right? And he has a lightsaber. Oh, so there you go. Father's Day is the same. So it's same date, Mr. Henry. So go all out if you're wanting to get the students like really excited and really involved. If you're doing like a self-defense seminar, a particular seminar in your style, show what you're doing, like a trailer, like a movie trailer. Create a live action movie trailer in your class to demonstrate what they're going to be doing at the event. Now, that doesn't mean you're going, now, this Sunday, we're releasing. Like, you don't have to like go all in and do like the crazy movie theater voice. That's not what I'm talking about. But like, if I'm doing a jujitsu seminar, then I'm going to get everybody huddled up and I'm going to be like, guys, this Saturday, we're doing chokes, triangles, and something else, leg locks, whatever it is, chokes, triangles, and leg locks. This is what we're going to be teaching you guys to do. If you've ever wanted to know how to land the Darce choke, this is what it looks like. Boom, I do it. And then, by the way, we're going to be working on this particular leg lock, and I'm going to show you the secret to getting out so you never get caught. If you don't show up this Saturday, I can promise you someone is going to land the submission on you because you missed out. You don't know how to defend it, but that's okay. If you want to be that guy that doesn't show up to the seminar on Saturday, totally fine. But I do know for a fact that Mr. Massey's coming, and he's going to be learning a ton. So I would recommend not grappling with him at all the following week because he's going to toast you. in class. Like that would be my announcement if I was doing a jujitsu. I mean, wouldn't that motivate you guys to feel like I'm not getting toasted? You know, I'm gonna sign up. So you gotta have these announcements. You gotta have that plan in place. All right, you guys. That's gonna be a wrap for today. If you're in boardroom, you gotta click the other link to access that call. So I will see you guys over there. Everybody else, see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.